different substances, and to ask questions about different experiences that they're thinking about curating. And the synthesis that happens in the room and the connections that happen in the community when people feel permitted and safe to talk about these altered states of consciousness, which are very deep states of being, just causes what I like to call a connection to the collective consciousness, like a living, breathing pool of the collective consciousness. Because most everyone is in the room is a consciousness explorer, and they connect to that transpersonal space pretty regularly. And the connections that are formed there are just indescribable, invaluable to this type of work. When people feel supported as they go on the psychedelic path, they feel validated, they feel understood, they feel seen, they feel normalized, and most importantly, they feel more strength to continue the journey. So the idea of support and not being an afterthought of, in case I have a challenging experience, then I'll do, no, find your support container before, and then you know that you're supported. And that, again, already decreases a massive amount of potential issues that can come up later. There are 3 stages to the psychedelic experience, and they are not linear in time, actually. So, here we have the preparation, navigation, and integration. Talked about the idea of preparing for psychedelic states, and really the experience begins when an individual, not just when they're about to ingest the substance, when they were about to take the tab or the pill or drink the brew, but I actually believe that the experience begins when an individual, it just begins to toy around with the idea of partaking with psychedelics. And why is that? Because starting at that time, they're already moving pieces of the life pie to accommodate the experience and make it happen. What does that mean? They're already thinking about the different details. How am I going to procure the medicine? Where am I going to do it? The physical location. How much time is it going to take? I need to take a day off of the week for that. I might need a day to recover. They're already arranging their work around it. And also might also be dealing with potential feelings that come up, like anxiety or fear of losing control. And so all that comes up just when we start thinking about taking the substance. And in that way, the psychedelics are already evoking some type of thought and insight into the user's current state of mind, current emotional state, current physical state. And so the life is already disrupted, right? Life is already disrupted before you even have the substance in your hand. So that's preparation. And then the navigation is the time that is spent under the felt effects of the substance. I say that because even when the felt effects subside, the medicine in many ways still continues working for days and weeks and months. But for navigation specifically, it is the time, at least in this framework that I'm presenting, it's the time that we are actively engaged in the transpersonal space. And integration, it typically, at least as in the way that it's currently discussed in the psychedelic community, and as we approach integration as being a stream in psychology and therapy, currently it's typically referred to processing the insights that were gained in the psychedelic state post-experience. Okay? However, as a person, the user mindfully starts preparing for their journey, right? And as we mentioned, some issues do start arising to the surface when they just start thinking about it, logistics, emotional, physical, and their life is already disrupted, and they're already trying to accommodate the experience, right? So what are they doing? They are already integrating the psychedelic journey into their lives. They're attempting to accommodate the journey. That means they're attempting to integrate the journey, even though presumably it hasn't even started. So this is especially true for ongoing psychedelic use, because people who utilize psychedelic, for example, people who go into ayahuasca ceremonies once a month. So they prepare for their ceremony, and then they complete the ceremony, and then they go into supposedly the integration stage, right, where they're integrating the past experience, but they're already actively preparing for the next ceremony. So that means that the integration stage and the preparation stage overlap, so they're constantly integrating a past experience and preparing for the next one. So they're constantly in a state of integration. What time is it? 9:19. I'm going to skip this slide, because I still have a few more to go. This slide is really tells everything I want to say about integration. These are the objectives. The primary purpose is, all this said and done, the primary purpose of psychedelic integration is a return to wholeness that yields tangible results and noticeably improves our lives for the better and the lives of others. So all these objectives, they draw a broad roadmap en route to attaining this purpose of a return to wholeness and tangible results that people can see and say, oh, I want what they had. Why? Because they were able to transform their lives in just ways that are indescribable. And still, there are many additional strategies of integration that we were not going to get into tonight. Some of them, I do want to mention a couple of them. One strategy, for example, is to understand what I call the cartography of the unfolding psychedelic experience. For example, a psychedelic insight can unfold and deepen across multiple ceremonies with multiple substances and over a course of years. And oftentimes it can also be that only after you've gone through a few, again, everything I just mentioned, different substances, different ceremonies and years, year 4, all of a sudden you realize why that insight came to you 4 years ago, and now it makes sense. And also another element is that the work does include different elements of both enlightenment and light and love and bliss, but also can take people into dark nights of the soul period in their lives. So there is a lot of a balance between shadow and light work. So keeping a meta perspective while doing this work can really help tremendously. So individuals who seek professional integration support might encounter some challenges. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I do want to specifically mention about the language. I feel it's so important. That language is a regulated form of expression, and it attributes meaning. And without language that accurately describes an experience or a concept, really the experience or concept is